Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about why young men are opting out of college and universities. Because they are. It's predicted with a simple linear extrapolation that by the year 2060, there will be less than 5% of men in college. And those remaining will be from wealthy families that can actually legally afford to get through the landmine that it has become for young men. So since so many young men want to go to school and have a career, I think it's very important that we talk about this subject. So let's talk about some of the reasons why young men are opting out of college and universities. Because it really is a crossroads in their life, and they really are being forced to go their own way. This is not America. This is not a free nation when a large percentage of your population are being treated this way. So let's get into it. And this is just my list, a set of some of my ideas. Number one, the colleges and universities have become a hotbed of liberal leftist ideology. The very qualities of a man being confident, taking chances, being courageous, some might interpret it as arrogance. These qualities have been demonized and are being actually punished. And the behavior of going along, not questioning authority, and doing the least amount possible to simply get past is rewarded. We're doing ourselves a great disservice by not taking care of our men. And this idea that women are going to now step up and lead, no, they're not. They never have. I'm sorry. Okay, they're not filling the positions, of doctors and lawyers and engineers. And when they are, they're dropping out and giving up by the time they reach, their 30s or mid-30s, the majority of them. So what's the point? Now, it's amazing, isn't it, to find out how unsuited men are for higher education. Because that's exactly what's being told to us. They're unsuitable. They don't know how to behave. They need training on how to not bully people and how to check their privilege. It's as if we're saying that there was never any real place for men in higher education. They're just not suited for it. It's pretty ugly. So it's a very hostile environment for the men. Okay, moving on. Number two, after having just their basic male behavior demonized and called out, the young men are socially labeled as problems. In other words, their work is fine, but they question the female teacher in the sociology class about assumptions as being erroneous, as needing proof, or the validity of the welfare state. So the men and the boys are being punished for merely questioning what is obviously a corrupt and ineffective system. You see, the male quality, seeking out the truth, is being punished and demonized. The female quality, the weaker quality of going along and accepting authority and following the rules no matter what, is being rewarded. The male behavior is being stigmatized. And it's the human behavior that we need. It's the behavior of somebody with honor and integrity who wants to get ahead and be productive. That behavior is being labeled as a problem, as unsuitable. So it's this horrible social stigma, the signaling, the singling out of the men and the boys for the very qualities that they need to be successful in life. A social stigma for being a man. Let's move on. Number three, after steps number 1 and 2, the men in college, in the social group, they're isolated. They're all alone. And so this kind of negative loop, this destructive internal conversation that destroys their confidence is just continually reinforced because the basic behavior is stigmatized, and it doesn't matter what the young man is doing. I mean, they will catch him on something. You don't understand. It's not, and then I failed to open the door, and then I asked an insensitive question, so I was in the wrong. No, it would have been something else. It's not what it was who you are, and it is who you are that's being attacked, and your right, your moral, ethical right to even be within the group. that's what's being attacked. This is basic insect politics. It seems like that's what's motivating a lot of this behavior. So he's isolated, he's labeled. The very basic behavior that he needs to get ahead in the world is being conditioned and punished out of him. It's unnatural to ask the intelligent, confident young man to check his privilege. It's like, it's not his privilege, it's who he is. He's young, he's healthy, he's smart, he's quick, he's confident, he's intelligent. He's going to question, he's going to joke, he's going to expose. That's exactly what he's supposed to do. And for that behavior, which should be rewarded and encouraged, he's being punished because the majority are stuck in mediocrity and they don't want to be productive and they don't want to compete. I hope that you're able to kind of like take what's going on here in the school system, in the educational system, and apply it to the larger sphere of your life. Because it's happening everywhere. It's happening in politics, it's happening in the workplace, socially, everywhere in, free Western societies. Number 4, there's no place for men. I was referring to this earlier. It's as if like you're going to put a woman or women on a battleship and the women are going to start complaining about the behavior and the aggressiveness of the men, of the men's lack of consideration for the women, and thereby imply that the men are not suited to be on the battleship and that women are the ones who are truly suited to be on the battleship, even though they can't run the battleship, even though they are useless on the battleship, even though they don't really feel comfortable on the battleship, even though they don't really understand the purpose of the battleship, even though throughout all of human history, they've never demonstrated the ability to be effective on a battleship. But suddenly, because of political correctness and because of identity politics and because of victim oppression politics, the men are no good on battleships. The men are no good in the universities. Oh, I guess we're just going to have female explorers and inventors from now on. Oh, this is going to be great. Okay, what have they done so far? How are they doing? So I hope you understand that this is like a social, political manipulation. I've talked about this in some other videos. MGTOW at work, with the idea being that initially we are judged by our effectiveness, a meritocracy. Survival of the fittest. This is nature's way. This is the way of evolution. This is the way we improve. And this technique is applied into our daily processes as well. You know what I mean? It's not just this species-wide biological system. No, everything you do, you're evaluating its effectiveness and then you're making adjustments. Hopefully, you're adapting. You're evolving to the circumstances, to the environment. But there's another way, isn't there? Like if you didn't have that adaptability, you could start claiming that other people were cheating you and oppressing you and that they owed you something and they should step aside, that they should do the work but not get the rewards. Yeah, I hear that one a lot. Howard Dare, you're out of line for wanting to get paid for your work. And it's like, oh, you sad little fool. And this is from men. They don't realize what's happened inside of their own heads. They don't realize that they've actually been convinced to check their privilege, to actually go against their own interests so that they can be, important in the eyes of the women and the group without realizing that they're being played, that they're being conned. So, moving on. Number 5. As the schools and the universities are hostile environments for the men, so are the office workplaces, the institutional jobs. The only reason to be in school would be to acquire skills that you cannot get anyplace else. The entire environment is geared for women and victim politics, not for higher learning. But some fields, engineering, medicine, perhaps law. Yeah, of course, law. I've never liked law. Well, I don't mean... I've never been suited to study the law, I'll tell you that. It just didn't make any sense. I'm much more suited to study engineering. It was just this endless series of rules. And depending on your ability to cite them and to call upon them, that was it. So it wasn't, anyway. So that's what I mean by my problem with the law. Studying to be a lawyer, that's my problem. It's very difficult. So unless you're entering into one of these highly technical fields, what are you doing in college or university? Are you acquiring a degree in literature? In history? Actually, a degree in history, I mean, that could be very useful, from a personal point of view. But you can also study history on your own from a personal point of view. In other words, I'm not sure what job a person's going to get because they have a degree in history. Anyway, the problem is that people are now judged on their social status and their conformity to the group mindset on completely subjective standards. And so the men in both school and in the workplace are doing good work. They're not doing anything wrong socially either. But the women and the less productive workers are portraying the men in this light. And it doesn't matter what they do. Eventually, they will be called out. And then the social stigma will be upon them. And then they will become isolated politically, socially. And that carries its own problems of this negative feedback loop, this psychological loop of, being unworthy and destroying, the self-confidence because the group rejects you or because they've labeled you. And then the idea that, men are unsuited for these types of activities when men created these activities. Men are the inventors of mathematics. Women just don't. Anyway, so what should have been, higher study and learning has become about social conformity, group politics, social hierarchy. This is another one of the reasons why men are opting out of higher learning. This is why men are being encouraged to go into the trades because it's less likely that there will be women and less productive people in these fields to demonize and stigmatize their behavior, thus isolating them, thus creating this negative social, personal situation. So these are just some of the reasons why young men are opting out of college and university and going MGTOW. Now, if you haven't already, or you're new to the channel, please go ahead and click the subscribe button. Click the bell symbol next to it and accept the email notifications because there's a lot more content like this. There's regular podcasts where subscribers are invited into the podcast itself. Advice on how to make yourself strong as a man when you're under assault from a gynocentric, feminized world. So go ahead and do that. I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.